Hi, this is Brett Senkis with Senkis Law. I'm Brayton Woods. I am a business lawyer, do a lot of mergers and acquisitions. I'm also an M&A broker. We represent buyers and sellers of companies. Today we're talking about a special type of M&A buyer, or a buyer in the merger and acquisition space, and that's individuals. We've talked in the past about financial buyers and strategic buyers. These buyers, just individual people, that's what we're going to hit on today. So I told you that with Brayton Woods and Senkis Law, we operate in the $1 million to $25 million range. Individuals aren't out there buying $25 million businesses very often, but they are out there buying $500,000 businesses and $1 million businesses. So you've got people who have a little bit of money, maybe they've sold another business, maybe they came into some inheritance, and they're basically buying themselves a job. They want a business they can be active in and that they can run, and they just want to step into it, and that seems a lot easier than starting from scratch. And so those buyers, you've got to be worried on the negative side that they get cold feet, right? They're not in the business of doing deals. That money's really, maybe probably super important to them, or they're going to get to the 11th hour and just be scared to take on all that debt. If they're going to get a bank loan, and we'll talk about that in a minute, then they have to personally guarantee that. You can get a lot of cold feet with individual buyers. I should say a lot. I see a lot of deals blow out for that, but I see some. They don't always say why it is, but you kind of get the sense sometimes. So you've got to worry about that more with an individual buyer for sure. Okay, two other issues with individual buyers. One I just touched on, which is they often need financing, right? So sometimes it's hard. You can ask them directly. If you're a seller, you have every reason to say, what do you got? What are you putting down? Can I see it? A lot of those buyers are going to need financing, right? And some of sellers don't feel comfortable asking them for a copy of their credit report and their financial balance sheet and so forth, or they just won't be forthcoming about it, or sometimes there's just trust and you hope that this goes okay, but you don't know that they're going to get that loan. So you could drag this thing on for months and months and months. We try with our sellers to encourage them to let's get some visibility into what's going on here, not waste our time. But again, for all sorts of reasons, that's not always, you don't have perfect visibility, or sellers are, they're just scared to rock the boat. What I like to say, you can't lose what you don't have. If this person, they hadn't even closed the deal, we don't even know it's a deal yet. I just don't think you have to be tiptoeing around and scared of that. But again, we take the lead from our seller. All we can do is give the information. Sometimes they just don't want to push hard. So we don't really know. You're relying on them to get financing, and you don't know how easy it will be for them to do it. Whereas a private equity buyer, they're going to get the financing. I don't think I've seen a private equity deal not close because they didn't get money. They have big pools of money. They've got good relationships with lenders. It's just not the same risk at all. The third negative with individual buyers is that they're unsophisticated, which could be, as a seller, a positive, right? It could mean you get good deal terms, but it tends to, in my experience, make it harder to close deals. They just don't really understand things. Sometimes they get lawyers who don't have a lot of experience in M&A, derailing deals, making issues over things that really aren't very big issues. If we're representing the seller and they miss all the important stuff, hey, okay. But sometimes you just see a lot of time spent on issues that are really not very big issues, but they just don't have the context to process that. So the lack of sophistication, even if it doesn't lead them to get cold feet and exit the deal, can still just make it painful getting the deal closed. Or sometimes you've got to keep it together, give concessions that sort of rationally don't make a ton of sense, and that private equity buyers, for example, might not even ever consider asking for. On the positive side, they are less sophisticated, so sometimes you can get much better deal terms. Those deals tend to be a lot less rigorous in due diligence. The legal side of things, sometimes their lawyer, not at all. I've been in lots of deals under $1 million where I'm the only lawyer on it. We certainly encourage the other side to go get a lawyer, and that might say to you, well, why would you do that, Brett? If you're representing me, why would you do that? It's good for us. We certainly have to tell them, hey, I represent the seller. You know that. You have an opportunity to get a lawyer, because you don't want to leave them with an easy argument that I didn't even know who Brett represented. I'm super clear on this issue. For me and for you, it's really important, because judges will be sympathetic to that. Less sympathetic in this context, because someone selling their business for $1 million is probably going to be presumed to be a fairly sophisticated enough party. But someone buying and someone who could come up with the money to buy that business also, but still, you got to make it clear. So, but at the same time, if they just say, I don't care, I don't want to get a lawyer, hey, well, I'm not going to force them to do that. That's their business. We just have to take away their argument that they didn't know, or, no one ever told them, or, something just really kind of bush league like that, but it happens. So if they don't want to get a lawyer, we can get very, very favorable deal terms. I mean, very favorable. A lot of times on price, they're a lot easier on price. Now, if they have to get financing, that's going to bring in a third-party lender who might be even more conservative, but generally speaking, an individual buyer buying themselves a job, if you will, maybe a little bit easier going on price. So those are a few things that make individual buyers unique compared to financial buyers and strategic buyers. If you haven't seen my videos on those, check them out. If you have any questions about any of this, certainly reach out. If you enjoyed what you heard today, subscribe. I appreciate you stopping by.